Good evening, Resident Evil fanatics. It's getting dark out there. I hope you've made it inside safely. I am here, once again, to share with you some more thoughts, theories, and insights on Resident Evil Village, and there's no better time to explore these than now. Last time, we investigated folklore from several different regions. We analyzed how their meanings tie into Mia's folktale and examined the cult insignia in great detail. Tonight, we will be exploring a special figure in Slavic folklore. She seems to serve as very strong inspiration for a character in RE Village, both in appearance and potentially in her behavior as well. This figure is one of the most prominent and iconic characters in all of Slavic folklore, and she may be critically important to the essence of RE Village. Before we begin, I must say I cannot even express just how much this community has contributed to my content lately. More and more of you have become invested in my research and in my process for preparing these analyses, especially one friend in particular who discovered me through my Franz Kafka and Wesker Children analysis. Her name is Tina. Tina holds a great liking to Franz Kafka's books, The Wesker Children, and all things Resident Evil. She lives overseas in the gorgeous country of Estonia, and interestingly, she herself actually grew up hearing the tales of this frightening character from her Russian-speaking grandmother. And so, she, her grandmother, and her grandmother's friend were able to translate their respective local legends for me to present to you today. Huge thanks to these three contributors. Across the three of them, we have access to versions of the tale from Slavic folklore and the Baltic states. It's not common that I have access to someone who has first-hand experiences with this folklore, which not only gives us a purely authentic source of these tales, but also serves as a basis to understand research from elsewhere. Let us begin. Brace yourself, as this one's going to get scary. The newest RE Village trailer gave us a closer look at this woman here, who I want to focus on tonight. As you may have realized, it seems that this woman was actually depicted in the birthday party puzzle of Resident Evil 7, meaning Capcom probably had plans to include her early on. While she didn't hold much relevance for Lucas Baker's puzzle, it is uncanny that this seemingly arbitrary painting almost matches her appearance in the flesh in RE Village. She resembles a character who holds an extremely prominent name, being perhaps one of the most infamous figures in all of Slavic folklore. This character's name is Baba Yaga. I'll explain why this character in RE Village seems to take very strong inspiration from her. While there are many forest deity type characters that could inspire this old woman's look, none of them are quite as distinctly recognizable as Baba Yaga. Recognizing a few signature features is vitally important to identifying a Baba Yaga-inspired character, so pay close attention to these. For starters, notice her almost lifeless, thin gray hair, the dirty, hooded rags she wears to keep her warm, the dirty, gritty teeth, and the cloudy eyes. These are the most commonly recognizable traits across her many depictions, sometimes also having a large, distorted nose. But probably the most prominent and consistent icons across nearly all of her depictions are the skulls and bones. In this screenshot, with a larger field of view than the same spot in the trailer, notice the iconic human skull on the end of her staff. This skull and these bones are perhaps the most consistent symbols in various adaptations of Baba Yaga, sometimes serving as the emblem on the end of her staff, just like the lady in RE Village. Other times, she'll have skulls popping out of the grass surrounding her home, which in some tales light up at night as lanterns, as if they are suddenly alive. These emblems are instruments of fear, darkness, and death. Perhaps this is why parents tell their children, "Behave, or Baba Yaga will come for you at night." But why should we fear an old hag or the bones she collects? How did Tina and other locals learn to tremble in fear at the mere mention of her name? What exactly are they so afraid of? The answers to all of these questions are shrouded in ambiguity, and that ambiguity sparks fear. In fact, her inconclusive motives Her inconsistent alignment and her many different roles across her folktales all contribute to why she remains one of the most mysterious and fascinating characters in all of Slavic and Baltic folklore. But keep in mind, most similar folktales are characterized by recurring themes, like the many versions of evil stepmother tales we explored last time. Similarly, Baba Yaga has her own recurring elements. Using these elements, we can start to piece together her significance in RE Village. Let us explore further. The word Baba means old woman or grandmother, similar to its use in Baba Dokia and Baba Marta. Yaga has a much less definitive meaning, but holds a negative connotation in nearly all of its uses, sometimes meaning wicked, angry, horror, shudder, or abusive. While she almost resembles the archetypal witch, she does not wear a black hat, but she does sometimes use a broom to sweep her tracks clean and sometimes to fly. In other depictions, she travels around in an airborne iron kettle or a mortar and steers it with a pestle to fly around. Speaking of pestles and brooms, from the same screenshot, we can notice that her skull-headed staff actually seems to have bristles of a broom, with a sheath covering where the head of the broom would be. This only begs the question, is this staff actually just a broom, with a cloth covering the bristles with skulls hanging from them? This would match many of her other appearances. These instruments often have skulls and bones hanging from them, much like this shot of several hanging bones and a skull. And on this skull, something seems to be engraved, but it's too obscured to make out its meaning at this angle. Given that she chants the same mantra as the villagers, this is likely another cult sigil. The mantra goes, "In life and in death, we give glory." And she adds, "The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again." The bell tolls for us all is often interpreted as a reminder of our own mortality, a hint that death approaches us, coming closer and closer with every passing day. As for her home, she stays in the deep, dark forest in a wooden hut that is supported by 2 gigantic chicken legs. This home is also said to change location. She sometimes kidnaps passersby in the forest and viciously feasts on them. In several tales, her house has a fence guarding it, composed entirely of human bones. These are the remains of dead children and strangers, which she ravenously consumes. She is also believed to grind the bones of her victims into a powder, which she would use to mix potions. This would tie in almost directly to our last analysis regarding the use of mandrake roots in potions to supposedly help witches fly, speak with the dead, or take control of a human body. It is considered dangerous to call her out, but in many cases, her wisdom is extremely valuable, and this knowledge cannot be discovered any other way. So if you do seek her advice, all you need to do is say the magic words. Turn your back to the forest, but your front to me. I am calling you for advice. You can now give it to me. And when you call out these wonderful words, Baba Yaga will ask your reason for doing so. Should you knock on wood or on a table in your home 3 times, she may also pay you a visit. I understand it's tempting, but be careful. Remember, she is always listening. Her behavior in response to anyone who seeks her is easier to understand with a bit of context. Take a look at this classic legend, for example, the tale of Vasilisa the Beautiful. This tale holds many, many recurring themes across Slavic and Russian folktales, including the unloved stepdaughter, Vasilisa, and her hateful stepmother and uglier, older stepsisters. This is very similar to the tale, The 12 Months, of our past analysis, which holds a strong parallel to Mia's folktale. In this tale also, Vasilisa the stepdaughter was mistreated with drudgery, but before her mother died, she gave Vasilisa a magical doll which would assist maidens with their work. One day, the light in the house faded to black, and Vasilisa's stepmother sent her out into the forest to fetch some light from Baba Yaga. Having heard of Baba Yaga's sinister cravings for human flesh, she shivered in fright, but her doll comforted her and urged her to proceed into the forest. Eventually, night began to fall, and she arrived at Baba Yaga's hut. which sat upon 2 colossal chicken legs, surrounded by a fence made of human bones. She could see the ghoulish light emitted from the skulls in Baba Yaga's yard and grinned. She called out to Baba Yaga, asking her for light. Baba Yaga replied, "I will only give you the light if you do everything I ask of you. If you are unable to complete even one of these tasks, I will devour you." She gave several impossible tasks to Vasilisa, which her magical doll completed for her without issue, while Baba Yaga was out in the forest since dawn. Baba Yaga returned at nightfall, dumbstruck, wondering how Vasilisa had possibly completed everything to her satisfaction. Upon asking Vasilisa how she did all this, she simply replied, "By my mother's blessing." Baba Yaga, who despised blessings and anyone who held them, threw Vasilisa out of her house, but she did give her one of the skulls with shining eyes on a stick. This staff curiously looks like the skull-headed staff in the newest ROE Village trailer. She got what she wanted and headed back home. When she lit the coals with the skull lantern in her own house, the fire burned brighter and brighter, eventually engulfing her stepmothers and stepsister. Following their death, she buried the skull staff underneath her home to prevent further harm, and her father returned home. She then lives happily ever after, and in some variants of the tale, she gets married, which again is archetypal of similar types of stories. In this tale and several others, her alignment cannot be reduced to simply good or evil, but she is very often perceived as self-interested. It is interesting that the skull staff or skull lantern object that is used also mimics the skull staff in the trailer and in her many depictions, though it more so just solidifies the consistent symbol of skulls rather than holds any relevance to the light or magic aspect of it. At least with what we know now. This skull lantern does in a sense signify unpredictability and danger as it burns Vasilisa's wicked family to ashes. Baba Yaga leverages her power and her fear to force characters into working for her own benefit, but at the same time, she rewards them for their courage. They reach out to her for something only she has, whether they seek wisdom or some type of magical remedy. And if their efforts live up to her expectations, she does keep her word in rewarding the heroes, but still maintains this air of mystery, gloom, and darkness around her. Her hatred of blessings in Vasilisa's tale, and any mention of them, aligns with the belief that she may be the devil's grandmother. If her inclusion is faithful to the Baba Yaga in most folklore, she may be approached by Ethan for advice to navigate the village, probably in exchange for something. She seems to exemplify a lawful evil type of alignment, as she takes what she wants within the restraints of her own playbook, but doesn't really care if it endangers others or even kills them. And of course, it's crucial to mention how she fits into the theme of babies in the village. We discussed the possibility of continuing D-type experiments on fetuses in the previous episode, and obviously a Baba Yaga-inspired character fits the bill quite well for devouring the children of any failed experiments. In fact, she serves as a midwife type of character in some tales, and in some she even disguises herself as a younger woman to abduct the children, and such a disguise can actually be used in the village to steal babies away from unsuspecting parents, perhaps parents that don't comply with the village's beliefs. Let's just see how this plays out. For next time, there's something that needs a much deeper look, as its implications mean a lot for this game's cult atmosphere, building on all of the witch symbols we've seen already. I can't reveal much right now. All I can leave you with is 4 words: as above, so below. So, do you think this character is strongly inspired by Baba Yaga? What do her folktales tell us about her potential behavior in RE Village? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis video, feel free to check out my channel. The link is in the description. I do deep dives of Resident Evil and Devil May Cry lore and literature. I will be diving into the Resident Evil novels pretty soon as well. Next time on Residents of Evil, let us dive deeper into the importance of these goat sigils we see, on this woman's shield especially. Something evil lurks here. Until then, just pray that Baba Yaga doesn't pay you a visit.